Welcome to this tutorial on financial modeling using Kaluta projection methodology. Last time we did an exercise of establishing business valuation using monthly projected figures for unlevered free cash flow. That is free cash flow attributable to both equity and debt holders. In this exercise we are going to do modeling for monthly projected figures for levered free cash flow, that is free cash flow attributable to equity holders only. So before we start, let us do one rectification that needs to be done in our previous tutorial. When I established this average figure that was used for the purpose of determining terminal value, I said, let me click on the formula there and then go to see what it picks. We said that we need to remove outlier figures. All these figures from January up to June, there was negative cash flow because the business has not yet started generating revenues. So we started to do our average figure for unlevered free cash flow from July, where revenue has started to be generated. And we said we have to cover the period from which we need to cover for our average should remove these two negative elements at the end of our projection because they are also outliers. Okay, so we were supposed to end our average here in year 3, December 24, but I don't know what happened, but I picked it up to January. So what I need to do is simply drag this up to December 24 here, okay, and then press enter so that to adjust this figure which we used as a base for computation of our terminal value. Okay, so this is the average projected unlevered free cash flow monthly. Okay, and then we use the formulas to derive a no growth rate, which is actually this figure. You then divide it by cost of capital to arrive at no growth figure for terminal value. Okay, so we have already done that adjustment. Now let us come back to our business. So to do this valuation for levered free cash flow, let us create another sheet. Let us leave this one to be the cash flow sheet, monthly cash flow sheet. So let me duplicate this one, this sheet, by clicking on the sheet and then click duplicate to get another sheet here, which I rename now to monthly enterprise valuation. Okay, which is this one is unlevered free cash flow, that is enterprise valuation. And then let me duplicate this again, duplicate this, and then rename the duplicated one to monthly shareholder valuation. Okay, so this is the one that now we are going to use for computation of levered free cash flow and derivation of business valuation using levered free cash flow. Okay, so to do that, let me insert some rows here. Insert rows so that we do computation for levered free cash flow, and we have already done that in our annual enterprise value sheet here. We can just take that one here. We can copy this one, copy this, and then come to our monthly shareholders value here, then paste. Okay, so we started with unlevered free cash flow. So let me start with equal sign unlevered free cash flow, this figure. Press enter. Then from this unlevered free cash flow, we have to deduct interest payment, because interest payment is the cash flow attributable to debt holders, and we want to remain with the cash flow that is attributable to equity holders only. Okay, so interest we need to remove, but we don't remove the whole interest, because interest is tax deductible. So that tax deductibility provides a shield, and therefore that shield is a positive cash flow to equity holders. So instead of removing all interest, we only remove after tax interest rate component. So I start with equal sign and go pick on interest figure, because already it's negative here, so it's just a matter of picking it from the cash flow statement here, and then I multiply this one by, open the bracket, 1 minus 30%, that is a tax rate, close the bracket, press enter. So we have our interest deducted from unlevered free cash flow. The loan disbursement is added from cash flow from financing activities here, because this amount of money is available for use by shareholders or equity or holders. Okay, so we add it. Okay, press enter. And loan repayments, definitely this is the cash flow attributable to debt holders only, so we have to minus, and because in the cash flow is already negative there, so just start with equal sign and pick it from cash flow from investing activities, loan repayments here, press enter. Then take the sum of those, press enter. Now I have the sum, so let me select all these and then fill to the end of our projection period, end of year 3. Here. Okay, so we now have our unlevered free cash flow. So because all these formulas below have used the unlevered free cash flow, all these formulas here which we were using, we are referring to unlevered free cash flow figure here. So in order to save time, let me do something here. First, let me remove this formula here so that it remains to be just a figure. We know that unlevered free cash flow here is the one that we have started to generate our levered free cash flow. So I don't want this to be a formula, so I select all this until the end. Up to here, and then I copy. I click copy, and then I return back here again, and then tap to open the option for paste. So I paste as values, okay, not formula, okay, so that they don't change. So we have this figure, and now we don't need this part up, the upper part here for unlevered free cash flow, because we are dealing with levered free cash flow. So I just copy this one, copy this and paste it here as levered free cash flow, and just start with equal sign and pick this figure here down, press enter, so that this one I tap to fill this to the end of our projection period. As our levered free cash flow up to here in year 3, without covering the year terminal, of course. And then after that, then what I need is, I don't need all these up to here, so I select to delete them, delete rows, okay. So we are left with our levered free cash flow. So in this way, we don't need to change anything from this formula now, because they are now, if you look at the present value, we see it has picked this levered free cash flow and discount factor. Here discount factor we need to change now, because we use monthly weighted average cost of capital. Now we want to use only monthly cost of equity, okay, and not weighted average cost of capital, because we are dealing with levered free cash flow, the cash flow attributable to equity holders only. So I'm going to change now this. In the formula bar there, you see there is COF, cost of fund sheet E4. I click here. Here is where I need to change the figure. So I go to my cost of funds sheet here, and instead of this one, weighted average cost of capital, I pick this equity component, cost of equity absolute value, okay, and then press enter. So now I have changed this from monthly weighted average cost of capital to monthly cost of equity. And the formula, as you see, because the cost of equity is annual rate, we converted it from annual to monthly rate by this formula here, 1 plus R in bracket raised to the power of 1 divided by n, okay. In this case, because the cost of equity is annual rate, so n, to convert it into a monthly rate, n is 12, okay. So that's why we use 12 in this formula. You see here 1 over 1 divided by 12, and take the annual cost of funds to convert it to effective monthly cost of equity from annual one. Okay, so after doing this, then all these other computations here have taken the figure from levered free cash flow now for PV, NPV. Of course, you see the manually calculated is equal to the one using formula. X and PV also has taken into consideration the levered free cash flow. So we all have our computations here, but XIRR, this is the figure that is not correct, and this happens when your series of cash flows start with a positive figure here. So if this situation occurs, like our case here, then the XIRR formula may result into giving you 0. Okay, this could have been also due to the fact that there are multiple IRR in this case, but this is how. Now, how to solve this? The first one is, first we have our monthly IRR here. Okay, and we have converted this monthly IRR into annual IRR effective using a effective formula to compound it. Okay, so if monthly IRR is 14%, the annual IRR is 385%. Okay, and this one now, XIRR, should be close to, of course it should be less than this one. Okay, because this IRR assumes that the cash flow is taken at the end of the period. Okay, but XIRR takes exactly the where the cash flow has happened. Okay, so this one could, the IRR could have resulted into lower rate than this one. But to solve this problem, normally what you can do is, let us add a column here before our January 22, which is the first column. So let me insert column here. Okay, and in this column I assume that the starting date now for this cash flow is, I'm using the same date like this one, January 22 I use, so I copy this, I put it here, then paste this one here, and then our value for levered free cash flow here now, let me put a figure here that starts with a negative number. Okay, a very small figure that starts with a negative number. So say start with negative, then 0.00001, for example. Okay, now let me change the formula for XIRR here, which we have 0, by adjusting this formula to cover this component here. Oh, sorry, let me repeat again. So it needs to cover this. Oh, it does not agree to drag. Well, let us do this way. So this one we need to C40 is, okay, we are now talking about this here. So C40, we need to start from B40 instead of C40. So it should be B40 to AP40. Okay, here. So I change here. Instead of C40, AP40 should be B40, and then AP40. Okay, and for the range dates also instead of C2 AP2 should be B2 AP2. So I click on range of the dates here and start with B2, then put full colons, then AP2. Okay, press enter. So after adjusting for that, okay, so we have put a very tiny number with the same date or as our previous starting date, the same, but we have put a very small amount here in negative, and this one has rectified our problem here. So we now have our XIRR computed, okay, which is close to this one, effective rate of monthly calculations. Okay, all right, so this is how you can do to circumvent the problem of computation of XIRR when the initial starting figure is a positive one instead of a negative one. And payback period, profitability index is this one. Payback period now in this case should be, let me start with equal sign and come to pick it now here in our computation. Let's see where it has so it's here. This is the payback period in months. Press enter, and of course this one was converting it into in terms of years. So we have our computation. So that is all for this presentation. We will proceed with other content in the next presentation. Okay, bye for now. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you find content useful, please like it so that the YouTube algorithm could distribute this content to many people, and hence makes it worthwhile spending my time to develop this content. Okay, if the content you develop are used by many people, then you find it reasonable for your time. Okay, so that is it, guys. See you in the next presentation.